Yeah,
Uh,
no worries.
yeah, so I wanted to jump straight into it because I love everything that you do for us here on STET. And so yeah, can you tell me more about what you do and your job title?
Yeah, I am called the Chief Lighting Technician, also known as a Gaffer. And
Mm.
the show you're talking about is Happy's Place that we work on together, which is probably the best show I've ever worked on.
Yeah, same.
People-wise, crew-wise, everything. Everybody is just so fun. It's awesome. Uh, so my name is Ben Zura, and like I said, I am the chief lighting technician. Um, Typical day on a sitcom would be, we shoot them in 5-day schedules. So as you know, so my first day is just coming in and seeing if we have new sets built because we typically have the main sets and then we have swing sets come in. So once I see that, I start to in my head figure out how I'm going to light it, depending on is it day, is it night, is it a nightclub, is it supposed to be an exterior? There's lots of factors that go into figuring out how you actually want to light a set, especially inside, and try to make it look outside or other things like that.
Mm.
So that's on day one, and then we throw in a bunch of lights and kind of rough it in. And I have a crew of five, and they all know exactly what to do, and we just knock it out that first day. Second day into it, we usually have a run through. And so after the run through, I really see where people are standing, what they're doing, how the whole show's going to play out. We add more lights. Third day, same thing, another run through and fine tune even more. A lot of times the writing will change, the blocking changes, meaning where the people will be. And then that fourth day is, a block and shoot day, which we usually shoot some of the harder scenes out so we can show it for the fifth day in front of a live audience.
Right. So we actually we like you said, we go on camera 2 days out of the 5 day schedule.
Yeah.
And for those 3 days, it's for you guys to have enough time to make your arrangements and make sure everybody's happy with the look of the show.
Yep.
Who else do you report to as far as like finalizing a look?
So I work with the director of photography on shows like this, and so I've worked with him for so long. His name's Gary, and I know what he wants. So it's very nice. We work well together, and there's not a lot usually to report about. Some small notes at the very end, but it comes together pretty quick and nice. So
Right.
yeah.
And then you mentioned there's like 5 people on your team. Is that common or is that just varies?
Yeah, and it's actually six. I misspoke. So yeah, we have three guys that help with the hanging and the organizing, and you have to build each light. They come, there's a grid above the set, and then you put something called a stirrup, which is a long pipe that drops
Okay.
it down closer to the set because the grid's about 16 feet off the set.
Yeah.
So then you drop the lights in closer, and then the light has to be hung at the bottom of the stirrup, and then they put what's called doors on the lights to control where the light's going so you don't get too much light on a person. Or a lot of times one of the biggest things you chase is shadows. You don't ever want to see a bunch of shadows unless it's one
Mhm.
shadow is fine. But if you have two lights on a person like yourself right now and behind you you have two shadows on the wall,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's been fakely lit. One shadow would be good because it would be like the sunlight coming in or whatever. But um, yeah, so I got three guys that organize and assemble those. The lights all have to be assembled. There's a lot of little parts that go together. They don't just show up and we put them up. And then there's another guy who runs what's called the dimmer board because we control all the lights
Mhm.
um, via a dimmer system that I can call out numbers. We number them all and I can adjust anything from 0 to 100%. And then we have the best boy, who is in charge of kind of equipment and organization of our stuff and ordering supplies, expendables, stuff like that. So that's the whole crew plus myself.
So what kind of like skill set do you rely on for yourself to kind of like achieve what you want? What kind of eye do you have for that? And also, what kind of skills do you look for when you're looking for a team or your crew?
Yeah, it's different. I like a team that wants to work hard. and get a job done and go home. And for myself, I think the biggest thing is creativity for sure. Um, but second, I think, and maybe even first, is in my mind, I like people that can sort out a difficult situation in a simplified way without making things too hard. So, you look at something and you're trying to figure out, let's say, how to get sunlight through a window.
Mhm.
And, there's already trees in and there's so much stuff in the way. We use lifts that go up 16 feet and hang the lights typically. You're trying to get light through a window. So, you just grab a small light, put it on a small stand and just blast it through the window. Like quick fixes like that. Like
Yeah.
don't waste the company's time, even though yeah, there's no right or wrong. Actually, I was going to say even though the right way would be hanging the light, but there is no right or wrong in lighting. I mean, you don't want shadows, stuff like that. You don't want people
Right.
underlit, overlit. But as far as what light you use and tools you use, it's really a broad range.
And then how do things change when you're lighting a sitcom to like writing a feature or lighting a drama? How does that come about?
Well, so typically features and single camera shows, they're more focused on. They usually have two cameras. Some do three setups. We on a sitcom do four, and it's moving. So we're a weird hybrid of, as you know,
Hmm.
we're a weird hybrid of like a TV show meets a theater production with a live audience.
Hmm.
Um, has to accommodate four cameras constantly moving down a camera aisle. Where if you're doing a feature or a single camera, they call it, which can be multiple cameras this day and age, but you're on like two people at a table talking and there's no audience to move for. So you have one camera. If I'm talking to you, I have a camera over my shoulder that's not in your frame. You have a camera over your shoulder that's not in my frame, and that would be the setup. And so you would move your lights in close and around the people. You'd have lights lighting the room as well.
Hmm.
But it's just much more intimate, really.
Got it. Well, I know you for about like 15 years, and we met
I
on
know. It's
Mike and
crazy.
Molly.
I know.
But how did you get started, and what were kind of your first projects that you were able to jump on?
I've been in almost 30 years. 28, I believe, is coming up in March or April.
Oh,
And I started as a production assistant, and I did that thinking I was going to be an assistant director. And I
uh,
got about 50 days away from getting in the DGA, and I was on a horrible movie. I did features back then.
yeah.
And I just met up with these electricians, and they said, come work with us for a week. And then a week turned into 2 weeks, into 3 weeks. And next thing I know, I was in the union. So, and it's really hard to get in a union, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think, anybody interested in being in this business, you just truly have to be dedicated and patient.
Right.
And especially now, more than ever, with what's been going on in our industry between COVID shutdowns, strike shutdowns, lack of work now for things either not coming to production or moving out of state or country or but yeah, I mean that was my big change. And then I went from as an electrician for that amount of time, I went from features to episodics, and then kind of started raising a family. And sitcoms is just a more family friendly place to be. It's a set schedule. You don't go out on locations a lot typically.
Right. Typical.
So it just kind of worked better for me. And then my first sitcom, I don't even remember. I think I was just day playing. I think it was maybe King of Queens day playing.
Yeah, I remember when I met you, I was not even sure where I was going to land, and I know
Right.
that I wanted to be an electrician because I
Yep.
liked your team and I wanted to be a part of that group. And
Yep.
I remember you saying like, you really have to be sure that this is what you want because it's
Yep.
not going to be easy. And if you want to be in the art department, I think that's where you need to pursue.
Yeah.
And yeah, that it was true because I was
And
just
you found your path.
yeah, and at first I didn't even know that that's what I wanted. At the beginning, I just wanted to be a part of the team of the big picture
Yeah.
somehow. And
Yeah.
yeah, and but that was me being not patient and just kind of wanted to jump on board to see what happens. But yeah, like you said, getting into the union is such a big deal that
Any of them.
yeah. It costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of time,
Yep.
and yeah, and I think that that was the one thing that I learned right off the bat, that you had to have a plan, and things don't always go that way, but at least knowing what you want is going to help you get to where you're going to end up.
For sure. And, I thought I had a plan, like I said, becoming an assistant director. And
Yeah.
that course changed, and I couldn't be more happy. And
Right.
so 5 years into it, I shifted plans and
Hmm.
became an electrician, which I've always been handy. And I'm not, one of the things in my business, you can't be afraid of electricity. And a lot of people, just a
Yeah.
regular light bulb or an outlet, they're like, oh, I'm not going to touch it.
Right.
It's dangerous, but if you approach it the right way, and it's not, and it's very workable. I guess I just lost my train of thought because I thought of
Well,
something
anyway,
to say.
if you were about to start this process all over again, like what would you say to yourself?
I'm really happy the way my career worked out. I would say, I enjoyed spending those 5 years learning all kinds of things. I would say learn as much as you can from as many people as you can.
Right.
And then ultimately that'll help you make your decision on what you want to department you want to go into or what field you want to go into. But even when you get into that field, I wish, like for me, I guess I wish I had asked more people back then. I worked with some really big directors of photographies and big directors and big producers on features,
Mhm.
and I didn't ask enough questions, and I didn't make enough friends. And networking is the key, and I know you know that because you were the king of networking.
No, I agree with what you said because we work with so many talented people. Like
Yes.
for example, like Chuck Bateman. As far as like when I met him, I
Yeah.
didn't know who I was talking to, or
Yeah.
even like Gary Baum, being him or being around him, bump shoulders with the best of the best here, and
Yeah.
that's
And
what
even like a Jimmy Burrows, like we've both worked with
I.
Jimmy, who's the king of
Right.
sitcoms, director, and you just got to watch and even if you don't want to be a director, like just watch his style and watch what he does and watch what his expectations are and try to learn from that.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
mean, I
amazing.
remember, Mike and Molly was such a friendly set that for me, I was lucky enough to be able to jump into the, costumes department, ask them
Yeah.
what they do, made friends with all those guys. I
Yeah.
went, I used to talk to, the grip department. Every single, department there was like friendly enough to have you come and check what they were all about. And I think that's what made me kind of figure out where I wanted to be. And of course, I got along with all of you guys, but like you were right, you have to go with what you're passionate about because
Totally.
ultimately that's where you need to be.
Yeah, and you will fade out. Like if you became an electrician and you're passionate about art and set design and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you're an electrician, you're out of your element. It's a good job, but for you,
Right.
you might get burned out. So I think you found the right place for you. It's amazing to have watched from where you came from to where you are is pretty awesome. And
Thank you.
it's kind of like a testament to how to get in the business. Like,
Mm.
and I did a similar thing in a 30-year career way. You'll be there too someday, but they're all I don't think this business is made for everybody. It's a
Right.
weird business. You have to be willing to accept that, yeah, you're on a great show and then all of a sudden you're unemployed and you're
Right.
scrambling for another show. Like
Mhm.
if you're a 9 to 5 person, you want consistency in your life, this is not the business.
Mhm.
And the other thing I would say to add, you lucked out. You started in this on an amazing group. Mike and Molly was one of the best shows I ever did until
Right.
Happy's Place. Seriously, it was top notch. And I've worked on a couple that were like that, but you get on shows and people are mean and people are just not kind and it's just terrible. And
Yeah,
they're
that was
insecure
my
and they're
experience as
crazy.
well.
Yeah. And so I think with that, I would say, going back to me asking, about my past, what I would change, also cut your losses. If you're on a dead end,
Hmm.
realize it and cut your losses and find another group, find another show, and sometimes that's not easy, obviously, and I can sit here and say that, but
Right.
because I stayed in a couple situations that were just not great,
Right. Just
too long.
always be ready for change and always
Yeah.
be ready to find like a different group of people to be working with. Like for example, for myself, I started with the Chuck Lorre team,
Yep.
but I always made sure to always be in contact and work with teams that were outside of that group so
Yep.
that, for example, for me, when my boss retired, I was able to jump into a whole another team and
Yep.
just keep it going.
And that's the thing, exactly. You got to just be versatile and bend with the change.
Right.
And starting with Chuck Lorre as your foundation, I mean, and the network of people that he hires,
Yeah.
best of the best, absolute best of the best.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for all that info. That helps a lot. And
Yeah.
like I said, this is definitely to help out people outside of what we do to understand what your department brings to the table because it takes like many different departments to just put together a sitcom, a movie, whatever.
So many moving parts, and
Yeah.
people come to watch the show and they are blown away
Yeah.
on what we do and how many people do what, and whether it's props or wardrobe or electric or it's amazing. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
got a dog outside. Can you wait one sec?
Yeah.
Or are we good? It's up to you.
We're good. I mean, I'm gonna see you on set, so
I'll
we'll
see
catch
you
up.
in an hour.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks for this.
And
See ya.